Okay. Good evening. And welcome to everyone who's joining us on the internet. Well, I think everyone's had a good opportunity this last couple of weeks to take a look at the characteristics of taking offense. And have had the opportunity to see how each of you employs being offended and what purpose it serves for you to employ it. And this is excellent. I would invite you, if you still feel tinges of offendedness at what I've had to say and the words that I've used, do not shove it on the back shelf as we move on. Continue to let yourselves be present with the experience of offense. If you are not at peace with it yet, you will find yourself still subject to the power that others would attempt to exercise over you by means of offending you. When you are offended, you are in a state of self-defense. You are in a mindset in which you're seeing your brother as different from you, in an incompatible way. As someone who is not your ally, as someone who doesn't have your interests at heart, and who is therefore in one way or another an enemy. And this is why the need for self-defense. But I will tell you something. What are we talking about currently? We're talking about how to be an agent for change. How to be with and for your brother in a healing capacity. Or simply in a capacity of being so benign, but if I may put it this way, so filled with the Spirit, that the involvement is a blessing for you and your brother. And if you are offended by or at your brother, you will not be able to say within yourself, Father, I wish to be the evidence of love with my brother. You will not be able to say, Father, what's the truth here? Father, how can I be with my brother in a helpful way, in a real way, in a substantial way, in a way that blesses us both? No, you will not be able to be open to that because it will be more important to protect yourself. You can take being offended as just a little quirk of the moment in your mind, and prefer to get on with something more positive turn your attention elsewhere from where the call for love has come. But it's more serious than that. Because it's a place where you're covering up your unity with your brother. It's a place where you're covering up the potential and the capacity for union, for the experience of brotherhood. If his clothing offends you, if her clothing offends you, if his or her language offends you, if the color of his or her skin offends you, it comes in all different forms. Well, it brings you right to the point that we're discussing in this part of the book, which is how you are putting your mind to use. The use you're putting your mind to. Of course, in being offended, the use you're putting your mind to is not on your mind. He, she is what's on your mind. And what you might need to do to keep yourself safe will be on your mind. That's why we can't move too quickly through this portion of the book. Because in order to answer the call for love, you have to be in a place of balance, of equilibrium in your own mind. You have to choose, first of all, before anything else, to do whatever it takes to release whatever conflict is going on in your minds, so that you come to a place of balance, where you are not charged positively or negatively. Because in that levelness, there is enough quiet for you to move into that place of excellence in you that knows how to be excellently in the situation. Because it can hear the truth. Because it can hear the Father. So, as I said, if you still find yourself somewhat offended, if you are somehow willing to sort of discount the last two get-togethers as though they were slightly off track, be wary of the suggestion that it's so. Be wary of the confidence you have that either I'm not who I say I am, or Paul is too caught up in personal dynamics in his life to be able to hear me clearly. And therefore, you don't really have to pay attention to what I've said. But I promise you, you do need to pay attention to what I said. Because you need to become free of taking offense. As we've said, and we've read, it is possible for you to hear a call for love without being offended, without being reactionary. In fact, it's essential for you to arrive at the point where you can hear a call for love as a call for love, rather than the obtuse behavior that it's being expressed through. And this has to do with the preparation of your mind, if indeed you want to be an agent for change, if indeed you want to be the evidence of love in your brother's life. Let's go into the book. And I'm going to go back one sentence prior. To perceive the healing of your brother as the healing of yourself is thus the way to remember God. For you forgot your brothers with him. In other words, when you got your bill of divorcement from the father and you decided to see yourself as an independent agent, you caused yourself to forget who you were, God's son, God's daughter. You lost your father. You became an orphan. And in forgetting your father, you forgot not only that you were his son or daughter, you forgot that your brothers and sisters were his sons and daughters, so you forgot them in their reality as well. This is why you can't wake up alone. Because when you remember who you are, you will remember who your brothers and sisters are. And one of the most effective means of remembering who you are is to be willing to look at your brother or sister and remember who they are, even though they're behaving in a manner opposite to what they truly are. You will be healed together by virtue of your abandoning whatever shield you have put up between yourself and your brother, including the shield of offendedness. To perceive the healing of your brother as the healing of yourself is thus the way to remember God. For you forgot your brothers with him, and God's answer to your forgetting is but the way to remember. Perceive in sickness, whether yours or another's, but another call for love. And offer your brother what he believes he cannot offer himself. You see, your brother can't offer himself the perspective that it's impossible for him to be ill because he's the son or daughter of God. Because he is the direct expression of God, including all eternal characteristics of God and nothing else. He thinks he's just a mortal. He thinks he's just a body. He thinks he is an organism that sprang from a sperm and an egg. He's forgotten who he is. And so he doesn't know of his birthright. He doesn't know of his incapacity to be sick. And therefore he has no means of challenging what he's experiencing, no means of disagreeing with it, no means of authoritatively dismissing it from his experience. Perceive in sickness but another call for love. In other words, a call for an understanding of what your brother truly is. And offer your brother what he believes he cannot offer himself. Whatever the sickness, there is but one remedy. You will be made whole as you make whole. For to perceive in sickness the appeal for health, and there we are with our art of contrary thinking again, for to perceive in sickness the appeal for health is to recognize in hatred the call for love. You see the behavior, you see the apparent physical condition, and instead of believing the behavior and the appearance, you recognize that it is a direct statement of the opposite. It's not an expression of hate, it's a call for love. It's not illness, it's a demonstration of the fact that the incapacity to be ill is that one's birthright, and at some level he's feeling it. He's feeling the truth about himself, but he's not able to embrace it. And so he's resisting it and suffering in the process. And, continuing, to give a brother what he really wants is to offer it unto yourself. You get to keep what you give. For your Father wills you to know your brother as yourself. Well, I'll tell you something. There's just no way you can know your brother as yourself when you're offended with him. Or when you stand in self-righteous judgment of him, or you have all of the explanations as to why his experience is so miserable, the poor stupid bastard. There's no way for you to know your brother as yourself. And so somewhere in this picture, you have to be able to set aside your offendedness and your judgments and your clear explanations of why he's in the dilemma he's in, and be willing to look at him and say, Father, I want to see you there. Help me to see you there. Help me not to succumb to or be enticed into believing the picture that this one is presenting out of his ignorance. You see, somewhere you have to be willing to switch gears in your own mind so that your own mind is being put to a better use than you would spontaneously be inclined to put it. Answer his call for love, your brother's, and yours is answered. Because you will be able to see yourself in him and him in yourself. Not the puny little self-righteous ego that you seem to be, but the divine one that you are. And in that, both of you are confirmed in the truth about you. And blessed. Remember what we said about the frightening perceptions of little children, which terrify them because they do not understand them? I could say, remember what we said about the frightening perceptions of the neatly dressed person walking down the street last week and seeing this street person leaning against the light post? which terrified you or terrified the person in the neatly dressed demeanor, which terrify them because they do not understand them. See, when you read this book, don't just read the words that are there. Find a way to make them relevant. Remember what we said about the frightening perceptions of little children? Oh, yes. Yes, I'm well aware. My children did it, and I remember when I was scared of the boogeyman, too. Well, what in the heck does that mean? How is that helpful? But hey, let's talk about you walking in downtown San Francisco or downtown Los Angeles or downtown anywhere in a big city where there seem to be rough elements. Oh, now you can relate to what we said about the frightening perceptions of childlike adults, which terrify them because they don't understand them. You see, you put yourself in an element that you're not familiar with, and the unfamiliar can be frightening when it doesn't need to be. And you need to be careful not to be offended just because you're in unfamiliar circumstances. Because the moment you do, you put yourself at a disadvantage, and you put the circumstance you're in, whether it's benign or not, in a position of superiority over you. And you can't help but intend to be defended. And if you behave in a defended manner, your behavior will be inappropriate, and it will be recognized as inappropriate, and you will have laid yourself out as an easy mark. Remember what we said about the frightening perceptions of little children, which terrify them because they do not understand them? If they ask for enlightenment and accept it, their fears vanish. Well, now, everyone who participates in these study groups every Sunday night is asking for enlightenment. And I shared enlightenment over the last few weeks. And some of you didn't accept it. And your fears didn't vanish. The state of offense didn't melt when it could have and should have. If they ask, the little children, for enlightenment and accept it, their fears vanish. But if they hide their nightmares, they will keep them. Oh, let's move on to something more pleasant. Do we have to continue discussing this unpleasant subject? That's called hiding it, covering it up and moving on to greener pastures. But it will remain there as something that hasn't been, shall I say, defanged, and remains there to strike and confuse you. If they ask for enlightenment and accept it, their fears vanish. But if they hide their nightmares, they will keep them. It is easy to help an uncertain child, for he recognizes that he does not know what his perceptions mean. Yet you believe that you do know. Yeah, I know this guy leaning against the light post. Yeah, I know all I need to know. And I'm scared shitless. And I better just straighten up my neat and tidily clothed body and just ignore him as I walk past. Scared shitless. And hopefully he won't bother me again. And let's say the guy doesn't bother you. And you get past and you get down to the next corner. And you let out a huge sigh and you say, "Thank you, God, that was a miracle. Thank you, God, thank you, God, thank you, God. Now I will have something to give testimony about as to the proof of God's love. Thank you, God." That wasn't a miracle. That was you hiding your fear really well. That was you offended by the words you heard and gave your own meaning to, that disallowed you from being able to be in the presence of your brother from a place of serene wholeness within you, who would have been able, without fear, to be utterly appropriate. So that perhaps a moment of intimacy might have occurred in which both of you knew that you were safe in each other's presence, in which both of you experienced the blessing of being in each other's experience. Now, last week, I mentioned that if you are able to be in your peace, where your mind is singular, not conflicted, and you are in the presence of people whose behavior and language is uncomfortable for you, that you can be an agent for change because of being in your peace. And you know what? I'm sure a number of your egos thought, yeah, that's right. That sounds pretty good. It would be worth it to me. It would be worth it to me to be able to have that kind of inner balance, so that even under those awful circumstances, I could still be an agent for change and bring blessing, you see. But you know what? When you're in that place, your brother, the one using language that offends you, might be the agent of change for you. By uncovering to you a perspective on life that you had been afraid to look at, and one which your self-righteousness kept you blind to, which caused you to see awfulness where awfulness wasn't going on at all, except by your definitions. Your brother might be able to be an agent for change for you, where you can see his wholeness, his love, his reasonableness, even though his language offends you.